Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Patty Brennan Show. Whether you have $20 or $20 million, this show is for those of you who want to protect, grow, and use your assets to live your very best lives. Today, I thought it would be kind of different if I just talked to you one-on-one and kind of went over some of the notes that I wrote down in my scratchy handwriting from a meeting that I attended with MIT and Dr. Joseph Coughlin from the MIT Age Lab. I have to tell you all, this is the coolest thing that I get to do every 3 months. It's a group of us who come together collectively to learn about what the current trends are as it relates to this thing we call the aging process and retirement and the different phases that we all go through. And this quarter, Joe had, and by the way, Joseph Coughlin is a very dear friend. He's Dr. Joe for most of us. He is so bright, and he's always coming up with different angles, and he's always ahead of the curve. He's the author of a book called The Longevity Economy, and it's just so interesting, his take on not only where we've been and where we are, but where we're headed, and the importance of understanding how longevity is going to affect our economy, our markets, and more importantly, our lives. So that's what we talk about every 3 months. And this month, he talked a lot about demographics and the end of average. And basically what we learned and what we bannered about was this concept of there's so much change happening in the world. And he boiled it down to 5 major areas, okay? Basically, he said the future, by the way, is gray, delayed, small, female, and blended. Gray, delayed, small, female, and blended. So let's take each one of those areas one by one. And I'm going to be looking at my notes because we just had this meeting on Monday. So forgive me if I'm looking at my scratchy handwriting, although I did type some of it up. Okay, so let's talk about gray. According to the statistics and the math, it was originally thought by the year 2045, there would be more people over the age of 60 than under the age of 18. Recent studies have brought that forward by 11 years, and that's going to happen in the year 2034. Think about that for a minute. That's got amazing implications. It's not just happening in Japan and in China, it's happening in the United States on a global basis. There are going to be more people over the age of 60. We have to think about what that might mean to quality of life and caregiving and how long people work. What I also thought was really interesting is this concept of artificial intelligence. And Joe brought up a very interesting point, and it's one that we talk about a lot. And he said, the new AI for the graying of America and the world is not artificial intelligence. It's anticipatory intelligence. And by that, I mean, we've worked with people for over 30 years, helped them to retire and have security for the rest of their lives. We kind of know the things that can happen, and we can anticipate them and make sure that you're ready for that. You guys get to do this once. So that anticipatory intelligence, I think, is really important. We have to use that. This is also really important because as we think about it, even today, 30% of all global spending is done by people who are over the age of 60. So from a, caregiving and the fact that we are aging, et cetera, we're going to require more services. But the people who are over age 60 already represent a third of the spending. And that's probably not going to change. As Jimmy Buffett said, and I've got a picture here, we are the people our parents warned us about, right? So there's a real need for longevity literacy, well beyond just the one area of finance, because this has tremendous implications in many areas. And it's important for us to think through how living longer changes pretty much everything. Housing, errands, transportation. It really is a big factor, and we've already seen it. So what does it mean in your life? I think that there's got to be more information shared about these areas so that you can anticipate the implications in your own lives. And the final thing is, how are you going to pay for it all? So the future is gray. The future is also delayed. We were at a party. I was at a party with my daughters and my family this weekend, and my daughter Carrie said, you know what? 30 is the new 20. And sure enough, according to Time magazine, 27 is the new 17. The future is delayed, and boy, are we seeing that already. It's so apparent with our kids. They're waiting to get married. In fact, this was a really interesting statistic that Joe shared with us. 51% of Americans ages 18 to 34 said that they didn't have a steady partner. That was an increase. That in 2004, that was 33%. So there is a delay in partnerships. People are not getting married as early as maybe we all did. And that also means that they're not having children as early. There's a delay across the board. In addition to that, from a financial perspective, they're not buying the houses. They're not contributing to 401ks. Their ability to accumulate wealth and that compounding machine that occurs, that, a lot of times our younger people don't realize is happening, is really put off. It's delayed, and that has tremendous implication for when they can retire and how much they're going to accumulate. So again, as I think about that, the delay of, I don't even want to say maturity, because they're just making different choices. There's a new term out there called the emerging adult. And according to Dr. Joe, the new thinking is that this emerging adult occurs between the ages of 25 and 35, and that young people today are not reaching the age of adulthood until the age of 36. In fact, a couple of universities are actually offering classes on something called adulting. Can you imagine going to a class learning how to be an adult? But, in many respects, these kids, and I don't know about you, but there weren't classes on how do you buy a home? How do you fill out a tax return? Things of that nature and the implications of all of it. So we've talked about the future is gray, the future is delayed. The future is also going to be small. People are living longer, and what's happening is a lot of people are choosing just to live alone. And that has important implications as it relates to financial affairs as well as caregiving and so many other areas, income taxes, etc. Right now in the U.S., 32% of households are with one person. And for example, depending on what state you live in, Joe brought up a great map, and it showed the number of households that were single households in each state. In Washington, D.C., it's 48% of households today are of people who are living by themselves. Everything is getting smaller, and economically, it also has implications. He showed us pictures of even shopping carts are about half the size. And a loaf of bread isn't even a loaf of bread anymore. It's a half a loaf of bread. And the content in these boxes of stuff at the food store, it's getting smaller. So it really is important to take all of this in mind. And there is something called the singles tax. For example, you go to a hotel, hotels are priced for double occupancy. If it's one person, you're paying the same price. Tax rates are higher for people who are single. The caregiving issue, again, because people are living solo, they're not getting married, they're not having children. And initially you think, okay, well, they're not spending money raising children. As Joe pointed out, oh yeah, wait till they get into their 60s and 70s and they have to pay for caregiving. And they've got to pay for people to, perfect example is Ed and I had a flood in our house the other night, and there's water coming down in the ceiling. Not that he knew what to do, but, it was nice to have another person who could run up and turn off the water and we could figure it out together. If I were living solo, I wouldn't have had that partner to help us fix it and figure out what to do. So you've got to pay for those services. That's going to be really important as this new future evolves. And we already know that women live longer, et cetera. There's even a talk of a second retirement. The average is a woman will live on average about 10 years. Important implications on many levels. So for many individuals, managing uncertainty takes on a whole new meaning. You know, we've got to think about future caregiving, things of that nature. And, you know, we do think about the implications for couples and for women who are living longer. Speaking of which, the fourth area is the future is female, okay? Because eventually there will be more women, you know, in our society, and women already control 2/3 of all spending in a household. A lot of women are now making the financial decisions. They are the key buyers, and I should say we are the key buyers of consumer electronics. 65% of cars are bought by women, and 90% of healthcare decisions. The fastest growing segment of new business owners are women. And it's really, really important for us to consider the impact of caregiving, whether it be young children or our parents, and who's doing that, the majority of that. In households, as Joe brought up, and he had great statistics, it typically tends to be the oldest daughter. Now, I will tell you a personal story. I'm 5th out of 7 children. My mom and dad lived locally. My other siblings lived out of town, and I tended to do most of the caregiving and helping my parents with those decisions as well as the financial decisions. And the thing that I brought up to Joe in our meeting is, you know, we talk about the sandwich generation, right? And the impact that it has on women's careers. Maybe, I know one of the people who works here at Key Financial took time off from her career to take care of a parent. That has important implications. In addition to that, if they're taking care of parents and children, important implications. And what I brought up to Joe is we've also got to consider the fact that as people get older, we've got siblings who may or may not be in a position to pay for their own care. They may be single themselves, and that will tend to fall on maybe a sister. Okay, so it really, the future of female is a very complicated one. It's got a lot of stress, and it doesn't tend to end with this wonderful image of retirement, right? Being on a beach and riding bikes and things of that nature. Most of the time, or a lot of the time, it's taking care of other people. Important implications. And it is also complicated by the fact that women are making a lot of the financial decisions and doing a lot of the buying. Okay, so we've talked about the future demographics and the implications. The future is gray, the future is delayed, the future is small, the future is female, and the 5th bullet point that Joe brought up is the future is diverse. And again, in America, we're already seeing it. I never realized how valuable it would be to have Sam Baez working here. He is from the Dominican Republic, and he speaks fluent Spanish. I can't believe how many days I hear Sam speaking Spanish on the phone. So we are becoming a much more diverse nation, and that is not going to change. It has important implications for those of us who are helping others, and it has important implications from a economic and demographic perspective. So I just thought I would bring those things up for each one of us. So as we think about these 5 bullet points, I think it's important to recognize that there is no such thing as average in America today. We are much more diverse in our preferences, our lifestyles, and our financial needs. So we need to approach these things with, multidisciplinary teams. I think we want to rethink life stages. We are living longer, and what's happening about that is the stages are getting wider. They are lasting longer. Again, that's the delay. And I think it's also important to recognize and discover those women who are in plain sight and realize that they've got very complicated future needs that we really need to take into consideration, as well as heritage. There are cultural norms and preferences that people have from all different areas of the world. So let me end by saying thank you to Dr. Joe Coughlin from the MIT H Lab. Thank you so much, Joe, for opening my mind, helping me to think about the future lives of the people who work here, as well as our clients and in our community, and the things that we can do to make sure that they continue to live and have the quality of life that they imagined. Thanks so much for joining me today. I'm Patty Brennan. We are Key Financial Wealth Management with wisdom and care. Have a great day, everybody.